Hi guys, it's Henry here from Investment Practice. If you haven't come across us before, we help 7- and 8-figure expats optimize their wealth and hopefully legally reduce their taxes on investments. For more information, we've got over 400 blogs on www.investmentsforexpats.com. So today, going to go over offshore bonds. What are they? How they should be used? Where do they have favorable tax implementations? What are the costs? Where they should not be used? When they shouldn't be used, some of the main providers, and where there are alternative and better options for potentially you guys, to help you get a bit of an insight on where they are and what to use, because they're quite often used in the expat community and quite often wrongly so. So I just want to go over some of the kind of debunk some of the myths about that. So what are they? Offshore bonds are usually a tax wrapper issued by a life insurance company in a favourable taxation location or low taxation locations such as the Isle of Man, Guernsey, Jersey, etc. Cayman Islands is also one. How they're useful is they usually have favourable tax implementation. So for example, with Australia, if you were to go back to Australia from a low tax jurisdiction like the Middle East, UAE for example, they have taxation where it can grow tax-free inside the wrapper. The same with the UK. The UK has a 5% 20-year rule. We've written about that on numerous of our blogs, where if you can take up to 5% a year. Bonds can be very useful for that if used in the right manner. How they are not useful and should not be used, they're not an investment platform, so to speak. There's better, lot cheaper investment platforms out there. They're not useful at all if for amounts under $250, even more so. More looking at the $500,000 minimum range that should be used, and also the time frame, because they come with term periods. You're looking for the medium to long term, ideally 10 years plus. We've written a chart, and I'll put a link to it in the description below, where we've gone over the costs of what most of the main bond providers, and it shows they usually flatten out between 15 and 20 years. So the longer time period you have, the better, just because of the way how these bonds work. They normally have a term of 10 years is kind of the moderate range, and after that then it just reduces to normally a very low, well, not low, but admin fee of around £400 or £500, and maybe a bit of other costs as well, so an establishment cost that's maybe equivalent to about 0.1, 0.2%. So for larger amounts, that's when it can become quite useful after those terms. Also, some of the cons with them is they're mostly sold based on commission. Again, this is quite a sticky issue, because a lot of people that shouldn't be in them get sold them on the tax regimes in places like the UAE, the Middle East, or low tax jurisdictions where they don't in fact need them, and they've probably got no benefit of going back to the UK. They may want to stay abroad, so they have no reason to be using offshore bonds in that manner. Some of the main providers that you get with them are Royal London, ITA Investors Trust, and Utmost. They normally take up around, I would say, as a guess, I haven't got any actual figures, around 80% of the market. What do they cost? It does vary. I've written a number of blogs on these and what to look out for. With commission, you're normally looking at a 1% charging period over a 10-year with all of them. So without commission, you're looking at around 0.2% as a rough ballpark figure. I will go into more detail about the costs on different videos, and I've done a bit on the blogs about the costs. So as well as the 0.2% a year, you've also got the custody fees, normally quite low, 0.05%. You've got the admin charges, they're around about £400 to £500 a year, and you've got the dealing costs. Again, they're quite high, normally £20 to £40 as well. So there you can see, when you're comparing it to a platform, the costs are just tremendously high, and that's at the lowest rate. So for 250,000 lump sum, 500,000 lump sum, you're looking at, without the commission taken, you're looking at around 0.5, 0.6 if you don't trade too much per year. So again, it's just very expensive compared to your usual investment platforms that you have available, especially the DIY ones like Interactive Brokers. So how they should be used and when they should be used and when there are better options. Again, when they're better options, I think you've got anything that's below $250,000, even $500,000. Again, if you're looking to stay in a location where it's low tax and you're presently in a location that's low tax, again, better off staying in an investment platform. Tax isn't worth it. Mainly, I normally say to a lot of clients, and we've had a few clients worth 15-20 million that we've just presently wrapped into offshore bonds. Where they come in use is if you're in a kind of low tax jurisdiction, or even a place we've had clients in the US that are going back to the UK that are looking to wrap it into a trust and into an offshore bond and use the tax implementations on them as well. So when they are useful is if you've got amounts for $500,000 plus, when you can afford to lock it up for the longer term, as we said, it reduces, and when it's done at the base cost. When it's not useful is for anything under $250,000, you've got better platforms available to you, and also some of the platforms can have automatic rebuy and sell that can reduce the capital gains tax on that. I hope you found this useful. It is just a general overview. We have done a lot more blogs on offshore bonds about the specific ones, such as Investors Trust, the costs of them, the 5,000, the 8,000 models, the Royal London, their bonds, and going over their costs and some of the hidden fees that are kind of implemented, or should we say the commissions that are implemented in it. If you have got any questions, feel free to email me at info@investmentforexpats.com. Cheers.